Hello, I'm Fred Growcock, Chair of the IADC Technical Publications Committee, welcoming you to our video podcast, DrillingIN, about Subhash Shah's new book, Fundamentals of Horizontal Wellbore Cleanout. But first, a word about the TPC. The Technical Publications Committee was formed nearly 20 years ago for the purpose of compiling and publishing books on drilling oil and gas wells. Its mission today is even broader. That is, to create a comprehensive, practical, and readily understandable series of peer-reviewed publications on well construction and integrity in the energy industry to educate and guide personnel at all levels. I would like to recognize, though, one of our most active members, Ryan Kane, who died unexpectedly last month. He was considered our drilling fluids historian. Ryan, most of you already know, was the co-author of the 7th edition of Composition and Properties of Drilling and Completion Fluids, and had taken on the task of putting together an 8th edition of the book. He was a good friend and colleague, and we will miss him. The 60-member TPC has now published 11 books. This Wellbore Cleanout book is the latest. But now a few words about Subhash. The book, Fundamentals of Horizontal Wellbore Cleanout, actually has 4 authors: Jianxi Song, Genshen Li, Zhengming Xu, and Subhash Shah. The first 3, Dr. Song, Dr. Li, and Dr. Zhu, are all affiliated with the China University of Petroleum at Beijing. Now, Subhash Shah himself, he's the one that we are interviewing today. So a few words about him are in order. Professor Subhash Shah is an emeritus professor in the Mewbourne School of Petroleum and Geological Engineering at the University of Oklahoma. He retired from OU after serving 22 years as Stevenson Chair Professor and as the Director of OU's Well Construction Technology Center. Now, for the past 6 years, he served as Shell Chair Professor and Chief Mentor in the School of Petroleum Technology, Pandit Dindayal Petroleum University in India. Dr. Shah holds a BS degree from the MS University of Baroda, India, and MS and PhD degrees from the University of New Mexico, all in chemical engineering. Dr. Shah is one of the world leaders in hydraulic fracturing, horizontal, multilateral well completions and stimulation, and finally in coiled tubing technology. He has a distinguished career in the oil and gas industry that spans over 46 years, 18 years with Halliburton as distinguished technical member, and 28 years in academics. He is a co-author of 2 books, this one here, Fundamentals of Horizontal Wellbore Cleanout, and Abrasive Water Jet Perforation and Multi-Stage Fracturing. He has authored or co-authored more than 300 technical papers in 30 international journals and 5 chapters in technical books. Dr. Shah is recognized as an SPE Distinguished Member and Distinguished Lecturer and is a recipient of the SPE Completions Optimization and Technology Award. Oh, that's a lot. But he's also Fellow of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers and Distinguished Alumnus of the College of Engineering, University of New Mexico. And now just a few words to summarize the book, and then we will get into the interview itself. So the Fundamentals of Horizontal Wellbore Cleanout describes the latest technology for sand cleanout of horizontal wellbores. Fundamentals of sand bed formation, sand settling velocity, friction, and hydraulics are also covered, including settling characteristics of sand, the effects of particle size and shape on drag coefficients, and modeling drag coefficients using experimental data. Numerical studies on sand transport efficiency include predictive models of sand concentration and friction between pipe and sand bed. The illustrative case studies include optimization of the nozzle assembly, operational procedure, and bottom hole assembly. Future research on cost-saving strategies, including the use of CO2 as a washing fluid in water-sensitive formations, completes the book, thus providing today's petroleum and drilling engineers with practical options for how best to clean out today's horizontal wells. Specific features of the book include flowcharts, methods, and field studies to help readers develop cost savings strategies and optimize performance. Also, help with building cleanout models using experimental data, and guidance on building research and operational capabilities through extensive literature reviews and references. And now, I think it's time for the interview itself. Are you ready, Dr. Shah?
Yes, Fred.
So, what is your book about?
Well, our book on fundamentals of horizontal wellbore cleanout is presents a new or novel method of using rotary jets to clean out solids or sand from horizontal wellbores.
Okay.
Now, this technology has not been investigated thoroughly or completely. Our book actually has addressed the theory as well as application of using rotary jetting to clean out solids from horizontal wells. Now, the way it works is that the annular helical flow generated by rotary jets, that is what actually helps very effectively removing solids or sand from horizontal wellbore. So that is what this book is about, introducing rotary jetting technology.
So, how would you define terms like that, wellbore cleanout and rotational jetting?
Let's talk about first, wellbore cleanout. What is wellbore cleanout? Simply put, it is a process of removing, wellbore fill material, or say cleaning up the, wellbore fill material, and that can be like sand, proppant, it can be scale, or any debris that is present in the wellbore. We would like to clean that out or remove that. Okay, many reservoirs actually produce some sand or fines with produced fluids, and in many cases these solids are not actually brought to the surface with produced fluids. That means they accumulate in the lower part of the wellbore, and it is with time it accumulates so much that it would actually restrict the production. So it is very, very important that these solids are removed from the wellbore. You asked me also to define another term that is on rotational jetting.
Oh, I forgot about that
Right.
one.
So rotational jetting actually is solids clean out process from horizontal wellbores by the rotary jets is very high efficiency and low cost process or technology. And it has gained a lot of popularity in recent years. Okay, so the way it works is that we have high pressure water jet and rotation control technology. Okay, greatly actually improves transport efficiency of solids in horizontal wellbores.
So you have them going on simultaneously.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We have to have that high pressure water jet and also rotational control technology.
Okay.
And if you use that, we can control and remove solids from the horizontal wellbores.
So, that sounds really exciting and interesting, but there are other books that are written about this subject. So, why did you specifically decide to write this book?
Yeah.
Why is it important to clean out the wellbore? And why focus on horizontal wells?
Correct. I'll tell you why. Because this process is dynamic process and it is very complex. It is very complex.
I can imagine.
It depends on so many parameters, like fluid properties. When we say fluid properties, we are talking about rheology of fluid, density of fluid. It also depends on solid properties such as particle size, particle shape, particle concentration. So those are and density of particles. It also depends on operational parameters such as wellbore size, wellbore inclination angle, then drill pipe eccentricity, flow rate, rotational speed of the pipe, also rate of penetration. So you can imagine that all these factors are going to affect the this clean out process.
That's a lot of variables to keep track of too.
Even in addition to that, we also have jetting tool dimensions of jetting tool, as well as configuration of jetting tool would also affect the process. So to effectively clean out the wellbore, we really need to understand the importance of these parameters and how they are going to affect the process. And also there is interaction among these parameters. So it's a very complex process, and we must understand thoroughly how they are going to interact. Okay? So there is no book today that addresses all of these issues. In our book, we have thoroughly described the fundamentals of the subject, okay, a subject of a clean-out process, and with the purpose of providing reader with the tools, necessary tools to tackle these problems. So that is why we decided that we need to have this kind of book available.
So tell me, Professor Shah, why is it important to clean out the wellbore?
It's extremely important that we clean out the wellbore, and I'll tell you why. Sand transport in wellbores occurs during various phases of well's life, like during drilling horizontal wells, fracturing, production. During all those phases, we encountered solids, and these solids settle in the lower part of the horizontal wellbore, and eventually we have a solids bed that is formed, and this solids bed must be removed. Okay, and now poor hole cleaning may result in lost circulation. It can also hinder placement of casing into a desired position. We can also have excessive bead wear, and also we can have pipe sticking. So these are major actually issues that we would encounter during drilling if those solids are not removed. In addition to this, it can also cause damage to downhole equipment. It can cause production losses, and also it can damage the formation itself. So there are so many reasons why we need to remove these solids. Okay. Now, if wellbore debris represents a significant risk to your well, and also completion activity or completions that you have in the wellbore. If the wellbore is not cleaned effectively, you may run a risk of creating NPT, that is non-productive time, costing your company time and money.
Right?
Sure. So it's extremely important. Okay. Now, debris in the wellbore causes problems. It doesn't matter what kind of debris we have in the wellbore, it must be removed. That is simple as that. It is blamed for a third of all failed completions. So you can imagine the importance of that.
Now, why focus on horizontal wells?
Because it is more critical to clean out solids from horizontal wellbore than vertical wellbore. Cleaning the inclined section of the wellbore or horizontal section of the wellbore is extremely difficult as compared to vertical section of the wellbore. Vertical section clean out requires that we have annular fluid velocity greater than particle settling velocity. And in many cases, we can have flow rate, we can achieve the flow rate, in other words, or the velocity of the fluid, significantly higher, and there is no issue of cleaning the vertical wellbore. But when it comes to inclination angle greater than 30 degrees, there is no direct correlation between annular fluid velocity and cuttings removal. Okay, so in those cases, it requires significantly higher velocity, annular velocity, and in many cases it is not achievable. And that is why we have to use the process of rotary jetting, so that we can wash out those solids.
Oh, that makes sense.
Easily, yes.
Yeah.
Because fluid velocity itself is not high enough.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to have some mechanical means of removing those solids. Now, solids clean out in horizontal wells is significantly different from conventional solids clean out process or operation. Now, there are two unique features. When it comes to horizontal well clean out, there are two characteristics that we need to be talking about. The first one is that the tubing string that we have in the wellbore and the axis of that tubing tubing does not coincide with wellbore axis. So what does that mean? That we have created an eccentricity. So our flow geometry is eccentric rather than concentric. And so that would have an effect on particle settling, how particle settles at the bottom of the pipe.
Yeah.
So that is one characteristic. The second one is that the annular fluid, the direction of annular fluid is perpendicular to the particle settling. Okay? Because so fluid is flowing in horizontal direction, particle settling in vertical direction. So this is perpendicular to that. So what happens is that these particles have very short distance before they are deposited on the bottom of the pipe. Okay, so these particles eventually then would accumulate and build a solids bed, and that solids bed needs to be removed then. Okay, so there are these two characteristics actually help particles settle quickly and form that bed. So that is how it is different than vertical,
Well, it's a much more difficult problem.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah, much more difficult to clean, horizontal wells.
So what that means is that the conventional method of cleaning out the solids from horizontal wellbore would not work. It would not work for horizontal wells.
If I was interested in buying this book, of course, I would look at some other sources too of information about how to clean out horizontal wells. So, what does this book have to offer that I can't get elsewhere?
Very good question. Okay,
Yeah.
Because our book on fundamentals of horizontal wellbore clean out offers many unique features. First of all, it introduces the novel method of cleaning sand or solids from effectively cleaning sand or solids from horizontal wellbores. So that is number one. Number two, it provides the most relevant information, such as sand actually bed formation, sand settling velocity, also friction and wellbore hydraulics. So it covers most effective tools and emerging technologies. So that is number two. Number three is that we present in the book, we have presented flowcharts, methods, and also case studies or field studies to help reader develop low cost strategies or cost saving strategies and optimal performance. We have also presented results of numerical studies that were conducted for sand transport efficiency, as well as there are predictive models that we have presented in the book that can be used to calculate sand concentration, also to calculate friction between a drill pipe and solids bed. Okay, so in addition to that, we have discussed many illustrative case studies that include clean out with varying nozzle assemblies, to lead up to optimize design as well as operational procedures and bottom hole assembly. Okay. The last point that I would say that it discusses research on using cost saving strategies that include using supercritical CO2 as a washing fluid in water sensitive formations. So you see that there are so many unique features that we have included in this book that you may not, you would not be able to find that in other books.
Exactly. I don't think that I could find all of that information in one place.
Right.
So that's good to have it all together like that.
Exactly.
So who do you think is your target audience?
Okay. Our target audience, we aimed this book to serve petroleum engineering students. Also, it is going to serve drilling engineers, completion engineers who are actually day-to-day designing and optimizing wellbore clean out treatments. It would also help practicing engineers who will be implementing this rotary jet technology in the field. So that is the target audience.
Well, what general advice or recommendations can you share with us today?
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you that well costs, as you know, can often be in multi-million-dollar range. We are talking about lot of money here, right? Meaning that it is vital for us, for our completion, to run as smoothly as possible without any problems. You have got to spend money to save money. Okay? By cleaning up your wellbore properly, you increase production or productivity, okay, while significantly reducing the likelihood of equipment runs, as well as expensive downtime later, right? So removing the debris using environmentally friendly tools and products can both eliminate the risk to the environment, as well as it would increase the life span of your wellbore. Okay, so it is an assurance that your wellbore maintains its integrity, and we improve production lifespan. Okay, so as I emphasized earlier, that cleaning out solids from horizontal wellbore is extremely difficult. So my recommendation would be is that if you want to effectively remove sand or solids from horizontal wellbore, you need to consider this new technology of rotary jetting technology, that for horizontal wellbore clean out.
Yeah, so it may cost you a little bit, but you're going to gain a lot.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Okay, well, what other books have you written that the viewers might be interested in reading?
Yeah, I'll mention that the one book that we published earlier in 2017 is on abrasive water jet perforating and multi-stage fracturing, and that is published by Elsevier in 2017. That book is very relevant to what we are discussing today, the subject of wellbore clean out in horizontal wellbore. So I would say that that book would be of interest to readers.
Okay.
The second book I would say is that published by SPE, and that was just a year and a half ago, and the title of that SPE book is Hydraulic Fracturing: Fundamentals and Advancements, and that was editor-in-chief for that book is Dr. Jennifer Miskimins from Colorado School of Mines. And I was invited to contribute 2 chapters to that book. The first chapter is on flow behavior of fracturing fluids, and the second chapter is on proppant transport. So both of those chapters are very relevant to wellbore clean out operations.
Absolutely.
So I would recommend that
That's
reader actually go through those 2 chapters.
Okay, very good. Are you working on any other books right now, that have to do with well construction in the energy industry?
Okay. Presently, I'm working on 2 industry projects that I would like to complete. Also, I'm working on finishing or completing a chapter on nanomaterials in oil and gas.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Industry.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay. And that is for the book that is going to be coming out. Is advances in smart nanomaterials and their applications. And that is going to be edited by Professor Azmal Hussain of Wolaita Sodo University in Ethiopia. Okay. And that book is going to be, it's almost done. So that will be published by, Elsevier very, very soon.
Okay.
So those are my, recent actually.
Well, excellent.
Work, yes.
Well, it sounds to me like you have plenty of work ahead of you. Really appreciate you coming and visiting with me today, and talking to the other folks at IADC, and maybe some new fans of you too. Once they have read your book, they will probably want to read some more too. Well, thanks again for coming out.
Well, thank you very much, Fred. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and. If, in case you're interested in getting a copy of this book, okay, Fundamentals of Horizontal Wellbore Cleanout, you can get it in 4 different places. You can find it at the IADC bookstore. You can also find it at the Elsevier website, at Tech Street, and finally at Amazon. Thank you.